Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling seas. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won.
Black Life Texas News Magazine, your go-to source for informative, creative, and engaging news. With 85 convenient locations throughout San Antonio, Black Life Texas News Magazine brings you the latest updates on politics, social justice, culture, entertainment, and more. From thought-provoking articles to inspiring profiles, we cover the topics that matter most to you. Stay informed, connected, and inspired with our in-depth analysis and coverage of critical issues affecting the Black community. But we don't stop there. Black Life Texas News Magazine is your guide to upcoming events, festivals, and exhibitions that celebrate African American heritage and promote unity. Don't miss another copy. Subscribe today for convenient home delivery. Get your hands on Black Life Texas News Magazine and be part of the conversation that matters most to our community. Black Life Texas.
Welcome to a new show, and a very exciting show. Going to be hosted by myself and Professor Mario Salas. By virtue of my background, for those of you who don't know me, I worked 7 years on Capitol Hill, 3 for Senator Birch Bayh, and 4 for Congressman Perrin Mitchell. I came to San Antonio and I worked in the African American Studies Department as well as the Political Science Department at the University of Texas at San Antonio. I decided to retire a few years ago and do nothing but writing. So I've written 5 novels, the last being Making My Way to Harlem, a novel about the Harlem Renaissance. I've written 3 screenplays. The most important one right now is Heroes of Black Wall Street, which we've gotten Danny Glover to be our executive producer, and one of the top-notch directors in the country, Charles Burnett, to be our director. We just had a meeting today about raising the money and getting this movie out to tell the true story of Black Wall Street. And so that's about what I've done. I've written a number of autobiographies for different people, but that's a little bit about my background. So let me turn it over to my fellow host, my other wise guy, Professor Salas.
Thank you very much, Fred. Well, my name is Mario Marcel Salas, and I'm a professor teaching political science and African American studies, and I've written several books, one of which, the most current one, is titled, the provocative title of The Alamo, A Cradle of Lies, Slavery, and White Supremacy. And so I'm hoping that the audience is like me. I already know about Fred. Both Fred and I are both woke. We're still woke, and we're hoping our audience stays woke because that's what we have to do nowadays in the situation that we're in. So very happy to be here for the program. And gosh, Fred, there's just so much to talk about.
I know, I know. So I guess we can get started. There is a term called dystopia. And let me define dystopia for you. It is a term created to describe a fictional world where people live under a highly controlled totalitarian system. There were two books written about that. Aldous Huxley's 1932 novel, Brave New World, and George Orwell's 1984 novel. What these books talk about is a oligarchy that's taken control of technology and the government functions and everything. And so I call it now our nightmare, the dystopian nightmare for America, not just Black Americans, but for all Americans, because what's happening to our country affects everybody, even though a lot of folks out there who supported this guy, I'll never on this show, and if I do, Mario, please correct me, refer to him as president.
Okay, I will.
Okay.
Thanks for the invite.
Okay, so what I want to do to get started, first of all, is dispel the first myth of this administration. And that is that Trump won a mandate. Okay, folks, this guy did not win a mandate. And I think the statistics will prove that. Trump won 77,302,580 votes, 49.8% of the votes. Harris won 75,017,613, 48.22% of the vote. The difference was 2,284,967 out of over 150 million votes. That does not make a mandate.
The numbers don't show no mandate.
No mandate at all. Now he likes to brag about getting all the swing states, like he really ran over Harris in those states. Well, let's take a look at the swing states. One was Wisconsin. Trump got 1,697,626 votes, 49.6%. Harris got 1,668,229, 48.7%. The difference is laughable. Was only 29,397 votes. That does not make a mandate. How about Michigan? Trump won 2,804,647, 49.7%. Harris won 2,724,024, 48.3%. The difference out of over 5 million votes was only 86,000 votes. That does not make a mandate. One more, Pennsylvania. Trump won 3,543,388 votes. He finally got 50%, 50.4%. Harris got 3,423,042, 48.7%. The difference, now check this out. Now this is over 7 million votes. The only difference was 120,000 votes. And then the final one, Nevada, Trump got 751,205 votes, 50.6%. Harris got 705,197, only 46,000 vote difference. Now, if you want to talk about a mandate, check this out. In 2000, Biden got 81,268,924, 51.3% of the vote. Trump did not get 50% in 2024. Trump got 74,216,154, 46.86. Now check this difference. The difference was 7,052,770 votes between Biden and Trump. And you didn't hear Biden running around talking about, I got a mandate, I got a mandate, I got a mandate, I got a mandate. If anyone had a right to even start to claim a mandate, it would have been Biden over Trump. So first thing we could do is dispel that myth, folks. He
Yeah,
did not get a mandate.
that's a good
So,
point, Brett. And because he didn't have a mandate in the contest with Biden, he had to then come up with, well, they stole the election. So that was his rebut,
yeah,
if you will, or his excuse, making up a lie to claim the election was stolen because he didn't have a mandate, and he knew he didn't have a mandate. Didn't have one this time, didn't have one the last time. So in a dystopian government, like you were pointing out, what do? You use the big lie. You just keep
right.
repeating lie after lie after lie, and somebody's going to believe it. Unfortunately, man, that's how he rules, by master deceit.
What's up with these people? Mario, maybe you can help me understand. This guy lies. And these people back his lies. I mean, they back him like it's the truth. Is this some kind of cult we have in this country now?
Well, certainly resembles one. I read in the Guardian newspaper out of London not too long ago that sometimes when people feel like they've been marginalized or they're not being paid attention to, they look for a leader, a godlike kind of figure on earth to save them some kind of way. And so they gravitate toward, you can look at Hitler in that sense. They gravitate toward someone who may be able to make their condition or their situation better without really thinking about it. And it's kind of sad, Fred, because it tells you the American voters not as smart as we thought they were, but and the population is not as smart as some people think they are. Reading at what, eighth grade level? The majority of Americans, eighth grade level. Uh, Gosh, there's other countries in the world have a better reading level than ours. So with levels that low, I think it's easy to convince some folks that, if you're not doing well, you're living in a trailer, you've been fired from your job, then it's kind of easy for some guy to come up with magical words to make you feel like you're going to be empowered with his administration or with his win in an election. That's kind of the way I see it. I don't know I'm 100% right on that, but I think that's a piece of it. That's a piece of it.
Yeah, this whole idea, oh, poor white man, black folks will come along and taking all your jobs and they're a threat to you. What a bunch of bull, you know.
Well, you're nicer than me, Fred. I almost said something
Something
else
else.
I shouldn't say on TV, but anyway, um, it is, and it's propaganda to the max. I mean, when I think of Trump and his favorite book, Mein Kampf by Adolf Hitler, when I think of how he has almost copied Hitler to the almost the scowl on his face. Look at Hitler's speeches. He's waving his hands. He's making ugly faces, and that's all part of the mystique that a dictator normally creates, is to
Right.
look like the big bad man. And so he's mastered this technique of deception, and unfortunately, people that aren't that bright go right along with it.
Hey, it's interesting you bring that up because as we know, Hitler had to have someone to hate, and it was the Jews.
Yeah,
Trump has to have someone to hate. Right now, it's these all these immigrants who or illegal immigrants who are coming here and they're killing and they're raping all our women and they're killing all our people. They take that one example. Of course, it was a tragedy of the young lady that got killed by the immigrant. I think it was in Georgia. And oh man, what they do with that is shameful.
it is. Well, especially when you got large amounts of white on white crime taking place
There
in
you go.
small towns. The last time I looked at one of the forensic files, the episode that comes on TV, they're talking about killers in little small towns, and they're whites killing each other. I mean, so we have to worry about serial killers here that are from America, not the ones,
Absolutely.
not the few that had crossed the border.
Right. All these young white boys that go like in the church in South Carolina and shot up and killed those people, or down there in El Paso, the guy went into, I think it was a Walmart and shot all those people, that far exceeds, and I'm not trying to say any kind of murder is correct. It's not. But of all the immigrants coming here, they are coming here for a better life. And that's unfortunate. I often think that France should ask to take the Statue of Liberty back because it doesn't deserve to be here any longer.
Yeah. Well, kind of like reminds me of Hitler all over again. It stinks of white supremacy is what it stinks of. And of course, we both know, Fred, that we've had this problem with white supremacy for centuries, and it doesn't want to go away. And so some guy with a big mouth and a scowl on his face brings it back up in, deceptive language so he doesn't sound like he's a racist, but in fact, his policies, his actions indicate that he's a white supremacist.
Yeah, you bring it to maybe another subject here, DEI. DEI. They are passing every kind of law you can think of to do away with DEI. And that is directed, of course, at Black America to the point, show you how ridiculous it is. They replaced the General Brown, who's I think he was head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff,
right?
Because they claim it was DEI.
Yeah.
And they replaced it with a guy with less credentials than he has.
Yeah. Well, and supposedly General Brown, CQ, I think his name is CQ Brown, but supposedly he did some video during the George Floyd. Oh, they're trying to pardon George Floyd, by the way, the murderer of George Floyd. But he did some kind of video talking about, Black Lives Matter. Well, of course, Black Lives Matter, and the reason why Black lives never mattered. And that's why we have to say Black Lives Matter, because they never have mattered. But he did some kind of video or statement in which he talked about the killing of George Floyd. And I think that's what got to Trump and his cronies.
And that's why I guess he fired. I don't know if you could fire a general. You can just remove him from that position.
They might call it fired, removed, whatever. That the object, I guess, is to put him out. That's what they did.
How ridiculous it got, Mario, is they're cleaning up, I guess, the Defense Department's website with the names of people who buried in Arlington Cemetery, and they removed Colin Powell.
Yeah.
Somehow they had removed something about Jackie Robinson, and they said, "Oh, we can't do that," and they put it back up there. So this is all ridiculous.
Fred, this is the most inexperienced, inept, foolish people that he's appointed to these high positions, and wow, now we're seeing how inexperienced and foolish and sophomoric that they actually are. They don't know what they're doing. His cabinet members don't know what they're doing.
In fact, today on the news and yesterday was about that text that had confidential information on it, and they're getting tore apart on that. And they sent it to I think Goldberg with the Atlantic magazine,
and then saying it wasn't classified material when the conversation certainly was around what's going on. And then they did a good job at segueing and pivoting over to the fact, well, we did a great job there with the bombing and ignoring really what wrong they did. And then they have to acknowledge, then they backtrack and say, yeah, it was a bad mistake,
But they will not admit that it was confidential information.
Yeah,
so what Goldberg did today is he released the text, and it obvious was confidential information. So you're right. This is like the gang that couldn't shoot straight. Yeah. What's happening with the First Amendment under these guys, Mario?
Well, no, let me give you a local example. Well, I'm standing in the hallway one day and talking to a friend of mine, and my friend is doing a great job of insulting the government. And he's upset, like talking about stuff like what we're talking about now, but he's pretty upset about it and everything. And this stranger walks by. He hears what my friend is saying against Trump, and he stops and he turns back around. Now, we don't know this guy from Adam. And he turns back around and he says, I heard you all insulting the government. And so my friend goes, what do you mean by that? And it was so. Now, how does a stranger inject himself into a private conversation and think that's right? Well, what that's telling me is they are emboldened to violate people's rights, they are emboldened to
Yeah.
try and intimidate people that you can't have an opinion against Trump that's not to their liking. And so they're going to intimidate you. And they don't believe in the First Amendment themselves. So it's about intimidation and trying to make people afraid. Well, we're not afraid of that kind of talk, and we're going to keep on talking. Matter of fact, like I said in the beginning, Fred, I'm woke and I'm not going to go to sleep. I'm going to
I hear
sleep.
you. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So there's really frightening things there's a whole lot of frightening things that are happening. This trying to get the Supreme Court to rule in his favor to do away with the 14th Amendment that guarantees anyone born in America citizenship. If you carry that to its extreme, if the court went along with that, and he was able to do that, then he could identify those people that he didn't think belong here, who weren't white, I guess, right? Which would be all of us.
Right.
And then if you
Anybody they want to could claim, well, you're not an American, so you don't have any rights. And you know, Fred, that 14th Amendment had to do with the Civil War and the fact that black people were not allowed to vote, not allowed to do much of anything. And so since the South lost the war, and by the way, in my opinion, the slave owners and Robert E. Lee and Jeff Davis should have been executed. And maybe we wouldn't be having the problems that we're having now, because it would have sent a clear message that white supremacy is not going to be accepted. And a lot of people were saying that even back then. But they tried with reconciliation, and the reconciliation resulted in Jim Crow. And now today's world is resulting in, let's get rid of the 14th Amendment. And what are they going to come up with next?
Yeah, I know, definitely. And you take from the 14th Amendment to all the other things they're doing, and you start to wonder what we know what his long-term plans are to be a dictator. I don't think anyone he said he'd be a dictator on the first day, but the first day is turned into what, 3 months of his nonsense. Yeah.
Yeah, one executive order. You know, that's what dictators do. They rule by decree. They don't go through a process. They rule by decree. So you do this, you do that, you do this. I'm ordering everyone to do this. That's not democracy. That's dictatorship.
Well, let me ask you this. Speculating down the road, do you feel that we know we got a chicken-esque Congress? They don't have a spine. The House of Representatives, they don't have a spine. They're a disgrace to that body. But do you think, I don't think those people like Trump, but they're afraid of him because his money man, Musk, has already said, if you go against Trump, I'll put enough money in to primary you and get you beat. If it continues to develop that he's alienated the people, all the people, even the conservatives, do you think that eventually could turn on him?
Yeah, it's a long, yeah, I mean, absolutely. There's all kinds of things well, you're right, that the spineless Republican Party is not going to do. They're worried about their own jobs. They're worried about their own positions on committees, assignments to this, that, and the other. And it's almost looking like drones and robots sitting in a room when they show the cabinet meetings, and all of them are sitting there, and it's like all of them are totally afraid to say anything that is opposed to what Trump is saying. They won't do it. They're bought into it. I've never seen that many cowards in one room in all of my life.
And then over in the House, you got what, 220 cowards afraid of him. So, Barry, you and I came up, we're fortunate we came up at an earlier age so we can really analyze this age compared to, let's say, the 60s and the 70s, the Nixon years or the Reagan years.
Oh boy.
How do you compare this to those years?
Well, there was widespread opposition to Nixon and the Vietnam War, obviously, and people were sick and tired of that war. And he knew the writing was on the wall. He knew that he was involved in a cover-up of breaking into the Democratic Party headquarters and using people to paying them to do it. He knew he was involved in all of that stuff. And because there was some sense of decency, even though it was only about this much, there was some sense of decency on the part of Nixon to like, I'm getting out of here before while the getting is good, because he didn't have control of every aspect of the three branches of government. And so he would see the writing on the wall in that case. The main difference here is we got a Republican Congress. We've got it's almost impossible to defeat the Republicans in the Senate on most things. And then we've got the executive branch. And then we've got Trump appointing in the past judges that support what he's doing, like that Cannon lady and
in Florida.
She's a total disgrace to the judicial.
She is, definitely.
And so one of the major differences is how much he's able to control, given the facts. There was a big win for the Democrats in, I think it was in Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania, state senate.
Where the Democrat won by a slim margin, but nevertheless, that was a shockwave. And that may be indication of things to come, because we're seeing, Fred, I'm just impressed and pleased that we're seeing Republicans who are finally saying that the rank and file Republicans finally saying, you know what, this guy is just over the top. This is too much. Talking about cutting Social Security, disrespecting veterans. This guy's he's gone nuts. And so these town hall meetings, you're seeing these Republican congressmen they're getting their pants torn off of them. And their drawers too. and by a constituency that's a Republican constituency. So even that's a big difference in many ways, and a welcome sign that even conservatives are beginning to question that this has just gone too far now.
Yeah, you mentioned veterans, and it brings up a sore spot for me. I did my time at about the same time that Trump should have done his time. And Daddy got him out. And now we have a draft dodger who is president of the United States. And I don't, and then the comments he made about McCain, I don't respect losers. And then he talked about all the dead soldiers over in France. Why would the veterans vote for this guy?
They didn't know, I guess, but they're probably beginning to realize it now. But yeah, and I don't know how any Republican can be upset about a Democrat using maybe over-the-top language in describing some other elected official. When Trump called veterans dead Marines, losers, suckers.
Yeah.
Anybody ought to be sanctioned is Donald Trump ought to be sanctioned and removed from office.
So we're about a half hour here, my friend, and we said we're going to go a half hour. Hopefully, some of you folks out there that picking up what we're talking about will know that we're telling the truth, and we're going to keep doing this every Wednesday at 6:30 Central Standard Time. And so, Mario, do you want any closing comments before we check out today?
Well, stay tuned, Fred. I guess we need to tell the audience stay tuned, and we did get a comment from Dr. Chadwell saying, yeah, she's loving this show. She's looking at it right now, and several other people are looking at it in the chat, and we appreciate the viewers. And I think, Fred, we were kind of nice this time for the first show, so I guess we were kind of nice.
Yeah,
stay tuned
for the next one.
Not be so nice the next time.
Stay tuned for the next one. Okay, this is the writer Fred, Professor Salas, signing off, and with the belief that we need to tell our story our way, and that's what we do. We'll see you next Wednesday at 6:30 Central Standard Time.
That's what the wise guys do.
Yeah.